So first of all, if you believe in the premise that there is a lot of technology to be unlocked, whether it is agriculture, architecture, say medicine, astronomy, or mathematics, any of those kinds of fields, any one of those sectors is a multi-$100 billion opportunity.
And all of that sitting in India right now, because hidden in
Sanskrit texts, in Tamil texts, in all sorts of different things, where you need to have an interpreter, right?
Yeah.
And we call that a heritage compiler. And the reason for that is, if you take a Sanskrit sloka, interpreting that depends on which school of thought you come in. It's not the same interpretation. So it's almost like you have to compile it to get meaning out of it. That's the compiler that we're building. And yes, large language model will be a critical piece of it. But before we rush into building a model, we're actually building the pieces of how do you understand the language, take the rules of the language, like for example, Panini's grammar, and encode that into the model.
Right.
So the architecture is slightly different. It's a very large language model that we're building, but it's also building with the scholars, right? So scholars will interact with it. It's multimodal by design, because these languages are spoken first, written second.
Now, this is a fascinating project because it's perhaps exactly what India needs.
Absolutely.
We're not just talking about preservation of heritage here. We're actually truly talking about use cases already. And so you're saying from drug discovery to architecture to studying,
to engineering to medicine to actual metallurgy. My focus is this has to be financially sustainable in its own merit. Culture comes out as a
byproduct,
right? And the second thing, of course, is I am deeply aware and acutely aware of the cultural sensitivities of a foreign company coming and trying to do this, and there are different interests that will come into play. So what we're trying to set up is an Indian entity that's independent of Articulate. It's a technology transfer program, almost like think of Maruti Suzuki or things of that nature, where yes, you need the technology from here, but there is a technology transfer agreement, and it's legitimately funded in India, and it's a separate entity, and it'll end up having ownership of all the IP it generates.
And how's the reception been so far around it?
Fantastic. In fact, we've had to rush in because some of the news leaked a little bit, but the reception has been phenomenal.
And both from the government as well as from VCs as well as from the research institutions. So it's going to be an all-rounded effort then to build something like this. How exciting is it for you personally? Because on one hand, you're doing the real domain-specific stuff, but this is something close to your heart.
Absolutely, right? Because this is we call Sanskrit our domain. So the domain is a domain-specific model for Sanskrit. And it's also a kid who almost never grew up with language, frankly, because I was always tech and always math and science. Language is always something that you had to do. And this is my way of paying back for all the time I didn't spend with language. But Sanskrit is something I learned for 4 years in KV, and that's about it. I never went back to it. And in the process of engaging in this project and figuring it out and the technology, know more about Sanskrit now than I ever did in school.
Right.
So it's super exciting for me to be working on that. In fact, we have an intern from Cornell who's a dual major in linguistics and computer science.
Wow.
And he's working on this project with us.
And I think that's what makes AI fascinating, Arun, the fact that you're combining linguistic studies along with computer science, doing things that otherwise would have been impossible to do, that is making this such a fascinating technology already.